You ever record 45 minutes of video for your first video of the season, only for OBS to crash and have your external hard drive disconnect? That 45 minutes video is gone, so you gotta restart from the top. Off to a great start. The season's off to a great start, dude.
Oscar guy here. We are back, man. We're back. We got a new webcam. We got some more light on my face. I mean, we're moving up ever so slightly, ever so slowly, but we're moving up just a little bit. Welcome back. It is the first video of the season of the 2024-2025 awards season. We're still kind of in the preseason right now. The Cannes Film Festival has happened. A lot of the fall film festivals lineups have been announced. Things are still kind of trickling out still, but there is a lot of films that are being premiered at these film festivals and some other films that are not being premiered and released later on in the year that have some Oscar gold potential. I have a list of about 50-ish films that I would want to briefly talk about each just to discuss their Oscar chances, and then I will be doing a more formal, my first Oscar predictions video, most likely later this month, maybe around the end of August, maybe around Labor Day, somewhere around there. But I think I'm going to prime ourselves for just diving in and just talking about some movies. And I'm going to split this up into, I guess, 4 different sections. The first section being films that I think are going to show up at the Oscars. Like, pretty sure thing that they're going to be showing up. The second category are films that I think are most likely going to be showing up. Not 100% sure, not 100% likely, but most likely. Third category, films that are a little less likely to show up. And then finally, films that I don't think are going to be recognized. Possible, there's a small outside chance, but most likely not. So I'm gonna dive in and just start talking about some films that I think are for sure going to be showing up. The first up being A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan biopic starring Timothée Chalamet, directed by James Mangold. It is being distributed by Searchlight, big studio pushing Oscar films these past years. It is coming out around Christmas, which is crazy because the film literally just wrapped a month ago. So post-production is a quick turnaround, I guess. If you've seen the trailer, Timmy's doing it, man. He's doing it. Yeah. All I'm gonna say, you might want to put him in your best actor predictions. I think he might show up. The Academy might be really into, a performance like this. Musical biopic, check, dude. That's all you need. And he's kind of nailing it based on the trailer right now. So Edward Norton is also in it too, playing Pete Seeger. He seems pretty promising. James Mangold is a very, at least above average director. I mean, he's kind of had a hit or miss track record lately, but I mean, he directed Walk the Line. He directed 4v Ferrari. Those were 2 Oscar players, obviously. So Searchlight might push this one. They do have quite a bit of films that they're distributing this year, but this is, I think, the main one that they're going to be focused on. It is coming out Christmas. Keep your eye on it. It's going to show up. Another film that is probably going to show up is Anora, which is directed by Sean Baker. It has been picked up by Neon, and they're on a streak in picking up these Palme d'Or winners, man. It's pretty insane. Anora is the Palme d'Or winner of this year. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So it's going to be an easy shoo-in for picture and director. It's kind of crazy how Palme d'Or has become the thing, and it's actually correlative to best picture and best director and things of that nature. Lately, it definitely has not been the case. Actually kind of turned around since Parasite. When Parasite won the Palme d'Or, it kind of things kind of started happening, So it's more in the forefront, the Cannes Film Festival. So that pretty much shoots up its Oscar chances for sure. This might be a Best Actress vehicle for Mikey Madison and her breakout role. I've heard great things about her and the cast in general. Screenplay, definitely possible. Texts are probably possible. This is definitely in the top 3 for Best Picture. Absolutely. And Sean Baker has a wonderful track record He's been proving himself time and time again with Tangerine, with Florida Project, with Red Rocket. He's a great filmmaker. So I think this might be his year. So keep an eye on Anora. Next up is Blitz, directed by Steve McQueen, who directed 12 Years a Slave, among other critical darlings. This is being distributed by Apple. I forget where it's being premiered. I think it's being premiered at some random European festival, but I know it is the closing night film at NIFF, which is the New York Film Festival. This might be like this year's Oscar bait film, from what I've heard and from what I've read. It's kind of giving Belfast a little bit. The direction I hear is very solid. The score is by Hans Zimmer. It might do great, but it might have like front runner fatigue and maybe something else will shoot up. Or it could be the other way around. I'm not sure. It's kind of early to say, but this one could go either way. It could be great. It could be like lukewarm, Oscar baity, or it could be a dud. I doubt it's going to be a dud. I've heard some good things about it, so I'm going to keep Blitz on my radar. So it comes out November 1st, and what also comes out November 1st is another movie called Conclave. This is being distributed by Focus Features. It is premiering, I believe, at TIFF, at Toronto International Film Festival. I've heard nothing but great things about this one. The Oscars might fall for it, although it is a thriller, and Oscars kind of are shaky about thrillers. I've heard it's a very wonderful adaptation from early test screenings. It could be a SAG Ensemble contender. It could be a Best Actress vehicle finally for Ralph Fiennes, who's been shafted out of nominations for a very long time. Stanley Tucci, Isabella Rossellini, John Lithgow, great cast. The trailer looks great. It looks beautifully shot. It is directed by Edward Berger, who did All Quiet on the Western Front, and he is re-teaming up with Volker Bertelmann, who did the score for All Quiet. Score sounds great in the trailer as well. Not sure if he's using the same cinematographer. He might, but it looks great. This one looks wonderful. So we will have to see. It is premiering at TIFF. It might win the Audience Award, or maybe even a runner-up. We'll just have to see. Dune Part 2. Might be another tech sweeper like the first one was. And, if you've seen Dune Part 2, people have been kind of comparing it to Empire Strikes Back in terms of, like, the franchise. It's pretty much leveling up what the first one did in pretty much every way imaginable. The first film was pretty much a setup for this film. And as we all know, the first film absolutely swept the tech categories the year it came out. Will Dune Part 2 be doing the same thing? I mean, I feel like it should, because it's better than the first movie in every way. But there are a couple movies, blockbuster movies, that could give it a run for its money in the below-the-line categories. But is most likely going to be showing up. Even though it came out way early this year, it was actually supposed to come out last year, but due to the strikes, it was pushed to March, I believe, this year. So, I don't think that's going to hurt his chances showing up. I think it's going to show up regardless in pretty much every tech category, and it's going to be tough to beat. The acting nominations aren't likely. I've heard early rumblings about Timmy and early rumblings about Javier Bardem, maybe even Zendaya, I'm not sure, but acting noms I don't think are going to happen, but tech noms are pretty much for sure. But will Denis Villeneuve get his justice from being snubbed for the first film? We all remember that. So will the Academy redeem him? Will this be his chance to actually get that director nomination and maybe even win? I think he is absolutely deserving, because that movie was pretty immaculately made and adapted. So one of my favorite movies of the year so far. So that's Dune Part 2. So the other film that might give it a run for its money in the tech categories is Gladiator 2, which is being directed by Sir Ridley Scott, whose track record has been a little shaky as of late. But this might be the one that brings him back to the forefront. Because I've been hearing wonderful things about it. The trailer looks great. It's an expensive ass movie, apparently. Budget was $250 million. $100, from what I've heard. I don't even know if that includes marketing. It could, but that's an expensive ass movie. So it needs to perform. It needs to do great at the box office, and it needs to perform well with critics and audiences alike in order for it to have any shot of showing up. I feel good about it. Again, it's kind of early to tell. It comes out around Thanksgiving, so we're going to have to see. Acting noms, I think, are maybe outside shots for Paul Mescal, Denzel, Pedro Pascal. Could happen. But it's going to show up in text for sure. Production design, I think, is probably its biggest shot. Cinematography, costumes, hair, maybe even editing. I'm not sure what the score is going to be like. We'll have to see. But yeah, pretty stoked about it. Next up is Inside Out 2. Pixar's back. I guess that decision to focus on existing IPs and sequels worked for them because it's one of the top. It's the highest grossing animated film of all time. So let's give Pixar a hand for that. All right, let's give them a hand. All right, okay. Easy front runner for animated feature. There's one other film that I'm going to be talking about shortly that might give it a run for its money. We'll have to see. But this might be the year where Disney Pixar kind of comes back. Might have their resurgence with the Academy. And they'll start sweeping the animated category. But never say never. But it's looking good for them. It's looking very, very good for them. Inside Out 2, while not quite as critically praised as the first one, it's good enough, apparently. So we'll have to see. Nickel Boys. I don't know much about this movie. Honestly, I mean, I know it's adapted from a Pulitzer Prize winning novel. I've heard rumblings that it is a fantastic adaptation. Some great performances, especially from some newcomers and Andrew Ellis Taylor, who was nominated for King Richard a few years ago. Amazon and MGM have this one. They have the distribution rights, so this might be their campaign push. But outside of that, I don't know much about it, if I'm being completely honest. So we will see how it performs at NIF, and it comes out just before Halloween. So we will have to see. Next film is Luca Guadagnino's Queer, starring Daniel Craig. And I've heard that he gives a great performance, and this might be his Best Actor campaign, so he can get his first-time nomination. Crazy. This might be one of this year's critical darlings. It could be a critical darling, and maybe the Academy won't be super into it. We'll have to see. We'll just have to see. Leslie Manville is supporting. She was nominated for Phantom Thread, surprisingly, all those years ago. So, and then adapted screenplay is also very likely. It is premiering at Venice. There's no official U.S. release yet, but we will see. Next up is Sing Sing, which is the Best Picture frontrunner to beat right now. It premiered at TIFF last year. It's been in limited release, kind of, as of late. And this is A24's baby. A24 has this one, and this is going to be the one that they're probably going to put all of their eggs in this basket. I think they have a few other films, but I think this is going to be the one that they're really going to push. It is the feel-good movie of the year. Colman Domingo might win Best Actor from what I've heard. He gives an incredible performance. Some of the supporting actors who are actually not even professional actors, if at all actors, I hear they're incredible. Clarence Macklin, I think is his name, plays a very pivotal supporting role in this one. So it's going to be the one to beat. It's definitely going to be the one to beat. So keep an eye out for Sing Sing. It is coming out soon, I believe. I know it's in weird limited release as of now. So I will just have to see where it plays. I'm going to see it as soon as I can. And then we have The Wild Robot, which is another animated film from Universal DreamWorks. It is premiering at TIFF, and I've been hearing amazing things about it. I did actually watch the trailers for this just before I recorded this, and it looks great. It looks beautiful, breathtaking. It's doing the CG / like traditional animation hybrid thing. they're pulling it off very well. It's kind of like this 3D slash like watercolor pastel finish over it, and it is breathtaking for sure. It's got Lupita Nyong'o, it's got Mark Hamill, it's got Pedro Pascal, Stephanie Hsu, great cast. I've been hearing great things about it. Some people are even saying it might walk away with animated feature, or it could be the surprise winner over Inside Out 2, but we'll have to see. It's definitely those top two, and it might be those top two for the rest of the season. It comes out in September. It's premiering at TIFF. We will see. And those are the films that I think will show up at the Academy Awards. All right, so films that are most likely going to show up. Not 100% sure, not surefire, but most likely going to be showing up. All We Imagine Is Light, I have first here. This was one of the breakout films at the Cannes Film Festival. It won the Grand Prix, which is the second highest honor of the festival. Zone of Interest won it last year, and then this film, All We Imagine Is Light, won it this year. Definitely a sure thing for, I guess, international feature. We'll see if India is less bad at submitting their own films for this category. We all know what happened to RRR a couple years ago. Hopefully they'll recognize this one, because I've heard nothing but great things about this. It was definitely like one of the surprise films of the festival. So not much Oscar prospects outside of international, but we'll just have to see. I believe it is playing at TIFF and maybe Venice film festivals, so we'll have to see how audiences will like it. Next up is another breakout from Cannes, Emilia Perez, which is a breakout musical that won the Best Actress prize for all of the female actors in the film. So this is probably another easy shoo-in for international. Actress and supporting actress, definitely possible. Song nominations are possible. We're not sure which songs are going to be pushed or campaigned or whatever. Netflix has this one, so it is in their hands to distribute this and to put it on people's televisions. And yeah, we'll see. Next one is Evil Does Not Exist, which is the new Ryusuke Hamaguchi film. It actually came out last year, but it's been kind of trickling out in limited releases this year. I have seen it. I think it is wonderful. I mean, I did love Hamaguchi's other film, Drive My Car. I think it's wonderful. And I think Japan is looking to submit this for international this year. That would be wonderful. So that will most likely show up. I don't think it's going to be getting a Drive My Car campaign. It's kind of a different movie. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not feeling the Drive My Car campaign for it, but pushing for international for sure. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is up next. It is being distributed by Warner Brothers. It's been out for a while. It kind of came and went, folks. It kind of came and went. Honestly, unfortunately, it came out and didn't do so great at the box office, despite of how great it was. It definitely wasn't Fury Road. It was a much different film than Fury Road from what I've heard. So it will most likely not have Fury Road presence because it is going up against Dune Part 2 and it's going up against Gladiator 2. So it's got some uphill battles for sure, but I can kind of see it, poking into tech categories here and there. I will be pretty surprised if it goose eggs, given how well the first Mad Max did. We'll have to see. Good luck, Warner Brothers. Next up is a film called I'm Still Here, which I don't know much about. I do know it is showing at Venice and TIFF. It might be Brazil's submission for international. Sony is distributing this one, but I've been hearing great things about it. I don't know a lot about it outside of that, so going to keep an eye on that one. Joker, Folie à Deux, aka Joker 2, if you don't want to butcher French like I just did. Being distributed by Warner Brothers, it is premiering at Venice and is going to be in theaters on October 4th. This one might be big. The first Joker not only premiered at Venice, but it won Venice. It won the Golden Lion at Venice when it came out. So that's pretty big. The festival heads at Venice are kind of hyping it up and saying that this is one of the best films in American cinema as of late, which is a pretty bold statement. I think that's their job to kind of like hype movies up like that. So gonna take that with a grain of salt, but I have heard that this might be the one. This might be a big one. It is a much different film than the first one. It is a musical. a jukebox musical. So apparently there's like licensed music and licensed songs in it. We'll have to wait and see how good it is and what the craft is. Lady Gaga might go supporting. She might go lead. We don't really know yet. From the trailers, I've been hearing kind of differing opinions on whether she's lead or supporting. I want to say she might go lead. I mean, it's Lady Gaga. Who are we kidding? Like, they're probably going to want to push her in lead. Because, I don't know, it might be a double lead situation. And if anything, Joaquin Phoenix might lay out his Oscar campaign to kind of let Lady Gaga have her moment, kind of like what Leo did. Leo! I'm sorry, I'm clinging on to that joke. That's a last year joke. The year before, it was Brendan Fraser. Last year was Leo! And then this year, we'll see what this year is, but Leo, get it out of the way. So I'm thinking that Joaquin might push Lady Gaga into the limelight for her Best Actress campaign, you know, instead of him campaigning for another Best Actor trophy. I just don't think that's going to happen. It's a sequel. I just don't see it. He might even get snubbed. He'll pull a Leo this year, as he did with Lily Gladstone last year for Killers of the Flower Moon. I just feel like that's the direction it's going to go. Probably going to be a big tech player too, for production design, for cinematography, editing, maybe score. Again, we'll see what the score is. Song nominations, I'm not even sure what that's going to be, because it's going to be licensed music, but there might be some original music too. I'm not sure, but it's going to show up nevertheless. Warner Brothers does have this in addition to Dune Part 2, so they might balance out these campaigns. They might push for this one more. We're just going to have to see. So that's Joker Folie à Deux. Folie à Deux. Sorry. Folie à Ducks. Full of ducks. Next up is a film called Maria, which is directed by Pablo Larraín, who directed Jackie and Spencer. Angelina Jolie is in it. She is apparently going to be campaigned for Best Actress, much like Natalie Portman, much like Kristen Stewart. They were both nominated. Although the film itself, it is Pablo Larraín, so it could be a weird one. So maybe it'll premiere at Venice and people will love it. It'll get raves from critics, and then it'll come out and people will not know what to do with it. But that being said, I think Angelina Jolie is pretty much solidified for a Best Actress campaign and nomination, but we'll see. Definitely got to keep an eye on that one. So next up is Saturday Night, previously titled SNL 1975, directed by Jason Reitman. Wonderful cast, including my boy Gabriel LaBelle from The Fabelmans. Sony has this one, so they might push this one. Music is by Jon Batiste, so that's good for your Oscar campaign chances. It's coming out October 11th in theaters, and I've been hearing pretty good things about it. Don't know much about it outside of that, but gonna keep an eye on it. Next up is a film called The Brutalist, which wasn't on my radar until very recently. This might be a critical darling that is going to be premiering at Venice. No US release just yet, and Focus Features has this one. I've been hearing rumblings that it's a near masterpiece, that it's amazing. It's more than 3.5 hours long with a 15-minute intermission, like drama, post-war epic drama out of nowhere, I guess. It's starring Adrian Brody, so this might be his chance to kind of come back into the forefront, I guess, after being in mostly like Wes Anderson films and kind of indie films here and there, and maybe this is his chance to shine again since his historic Best Actor win all those years back for The Pianist. So we'll see how it does at Venice. It might be a breakout. The Oscars might not even touch it. I'm not sure, but I'm keeping it on the list anyway. Next up is another Cannes film, The Girl with the Needle, which had very good reception at Cannes Film Festival. Very disturbing from what I hear, but also very, very effective. Black and white. You know, the Academy likes their black and white for whatever reason. Maybe it's a black and white cinematography contender, and maybe in some other areas, maybe screenplay. I'm not sure. And I don't even know if it's eligible for international. We will see. Early to say, but going to keep that on my radar as well. Next up is The Piano Lesson, which is the next August Wilson adaptation, a la Fences, a la Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Denzel Washington is kind of curating these August Wilson adaptations. In fact, his son Malcolm Washington is directing this one, and his other son, John David Washington, is starring in it, alongside Samuel L. Jackson and Daniel Deadwyler, all of which I have heard acting nominations, rumblings therein, especially for Samuel L. Jackson. This could be his moment to kind of get another Oscar nomination after 30 years of getting snubbed since Pulp Fiction. What the hell is that? Gonna keep an eye on this one, at least for acting nominations. Screenplay, it could be possible. Picture, probably an outside shot. But this is another campaign vehicle for Netflix. So Netflix has this one for distribution. It is going to be premiering at TIFF. No official release date from Netflix, but we will just have to see. Next up is The Room Next Door, which is the first English language film from Pedro Almodovar. It is the NIF centerpiece. There are actress prospects for both Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, who I would love to see nominated again. Two incredible actresses. Definitely stoked for this one. Going to be keeping my eye on it. I've been hearing great things about it. Warner Brothers. Sorry if you hear rain and thunder. It's the summertime. Random thunderstorm. We're going to keep it going, folks. We're doing this raw. Okay? Another film that Netflix has outside of The Piano Lesson and Amelia Perez is Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Must Flow, whatever. I mean, you know. The Academy really likes the studio for whatever reason. So its animated feature chances are likely. Not surefire, but definitely going to keep that on my radar. No U.S. release yet. We'll see. And then lastly, for the most likely category, is Wicked, or Wicked Part 2, or Wicked Part 1. Apparently it's going to be a two-parter for whatever reason. All right, anyway. Universal has this one. It's being released around Thanksgiving. Best actress for Erivo, Cynthia Erivo. Maybe it's possible, kind of an outside shot. Maybe she'll stop at Golden Globe musical or comedy. But I don't know. I think it has a better shot in the tech categories, like makeup, like production design. It's hard to say if this is going to be another musical box office bomb, because musical adaptations have not been doing very well these past few years. Although Wicked is pretty big. People do love Wicked. So we will just have to see. Ladies and gentlemen, we have pivoted to the Bob Barker microphone, so we're not picking up this crazy-ass storm. So bear with me. So, films that are less likely to show up. A Different Man from A24. Premiered at Sundance this past year. I've heard good things about it. Doesn't seem quite awards baity, perhaps. It is definitely a small indie film. I've been hearing raves about Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson. Maybe that's as far as it'll go. I'm not sure. Gonna keep it on my radar slightly, but we'll see. Another very small indie film that premiered at Sundance is A Real Pain. This is being distributed by Searchlight. That is a tongue twister. This is being distributed by Searchlight. Has some potential, from what I hear. Kieran Culkin is apparently riveting in this film, and people are kind of seeing this as a supporting actor vehicle, coming fresh off of his Succession Awards run this past year, or I guess 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I guess. Jesse Eisenberg wrote, directed, and is starring in this, so this is going to be a vehicle for him, for perhaps acting prospects, more likely screenplay potential. We'll see how Searchlight will push this one. They might be focused on A Different Man. They might be putting all their eggs in the Timmy basket. Definitely more of a smaller film, but going to keep my eye on it. And I'm very excited about it. It is premiering theatrically on November 1st. I will definitely be seeing it. Next is Beetlejuice, the Beetlejuice sequel, starring, of course, Michael Keaton. It is opening Venice. It's the opening film at Venice Film Festival. So what? That makes me believe that this might have more weight than we are intending. It might be really good. It might be above average. Is Burton back? You know, Michael Keaton. He might pull off maybe a Golden Globe comedy nomination or even win. I'm not sure. Trailer looks very solid. Could pull off some tech nominations like makeup, costumes, production design, perhaps. But outside of that, I'm not seeing too many other prospects outside of that. But since it's got that going for it and it's premiering at Venice, I gotta recognize it somehow. So next up is Challengers, which remains to be my favorite film of the year so far. Absolutely love that film. Although its Oscar chances are not likely, less likely. I think it still has some chances, but Luca Guadagnino's other film, Queer, I think is going to overshadow this one. Challengers was going to come out last year, but it came out earlier this year. Who knows? This one might be completely goose-egged. I hope not, but I think the quality is still there. The love for it is still there. It was, it was the talk of the town for a while. Score might be likely. I hope it's likely. Screenplay likely. Outside shots probably include cinematography and editing. I'm not sure. I guess I'm coping a little bit because I love it so much, but I'm just going to keep it on the list for now just to see how it will perform in the early season. If it doesn't perform in the early season, I think it's done. But it is here for now. Next up is a film called Didi, which won Sundance, yet another small indie film. It is in theaters now. It is being distributed by Focus Features. Has a lot of heart from what I hear. Chances are kind of low, but can it pull off a Coda? Coda won Sundance. I think it won Sundance. At least premiered at Sundance and was the talk of the town, and was picked up by Apple. So it was kind of up to Apple to kind of campaign that to the finish line eventually. So we'll see what Focus Features does. They have Conclave, so I'm thinking they're going to be campaigning for that more than anything, really. So Didi might pick up some Indie Spirit awards and maybe some lesser prizes. Not lesser, but you know what I mean. More, maybe critic circles will recognize it. But going all the way to the Oscars, it's not likely, but I'm going to keep it on my list anyway. Next up is Flow, which is an animated film that premiered at Cannes, which I hear good things about. Other than that, not too sure what this is. Not really a track record really to speak of from my understanding. But animated feature is looking a little bare, so I'm going to throw this in for right now. Next up is Mike Leigh's Hard Truths. There are rumors kind of going around that it was rejected from various festivals, so it doesn't make me feel good to say that because it might not be great. Maybe it is. Mike Leigh did get a special award from TIFF, I think, before its premiere at TIFF. So it's really hard to say. It could be either a sleeper hit or it could be a dud. It is coming out in theaters in January of next year, so gonna be waiting a little bit longer to see that one. But we'll see what the reactions are from TIFF, and we'll go from there. Next up is Here, directed by Robert Zemeckis. This one is kind of strange. It could be groundbreaking, or it could be cringy, or it could be both. It's based on a book, and it basically takes place in one area, in one room, but it goes through multiple time periods and multiple people as they age and people coming in and out. I'm not sure how it's going to be shot, but it might be something. So visual effects could be something. I think they're using, de-aging and AI a little bit, so it's like, I'm not having a great feeling about it, but we'll have to see. Maybe it'll be a surprise. It is coming out in theaters in November, so we're just going to have to see. Next up is His Three Daughters, not to be confused with Four Daughters from last year. I think actually this came out last year. Well, it premiered at TIFF last year. Releasing wide in September. Netflix also has this one. I've been hearing really good things about it. I've been hearing really great things about Natasha Lyonne's performance, and people are trying to push her to have a Best Actress campaign possibly, or supporting actress. I'm not sure if she's lead or supporting. Not much is known. We'll see what Netflix does with this one. Next up is Kneecap, which premiered at Sundance, which is officially Ireland's submission for International Feature. So it actually won the Audience Award at Sundance, if I'm not mistaken. and it is in limited release now. I've been hearing pretty good things about it. I would like to see it eventually, so I'm going to keep that on my radar as well. Next up is Night Bitch. Yes, you heard me correctly. Night Bitch, all one word. The Amy Adams vehicle. This one's interesting because it's about a mother, a woman who turns into a dog. That's all I know about it. I hear it might be weird, but I hear Amy Adams is fantastic. Not only that, she is getting the TIFF Tribute Award this year, which has a huge correlation to Best Actor and Best Actress at the Oscars. Brendan Fraser won this award. He won the Oscar. Coleman Domingo won this award for Sing Sing. He will most likely be nominated, if not win the Oscar this year. Benedict Cumberbatch won this award. He was nominated for an Oscar. I think there are other instances that I can't really recall right now, but this is a big correlation. So this might be her year to come back. She's kind of been in a slump lately, pretty much since Arrival. This could be her vehicle to kind of come back into the forefront as a major awards player, and she's a wonderful actress. Definitely deserves so. But it might be a weird movie, and from what I've heard some rumblings that it's a little not great. I don't know. It's too early to say. It comes out in December. It's premiering at TIFF. We'll see what the reactions are going to be like. Searchlight. This is another Searchlight film. They have Complete Unknown. They have A Real Pain. And they have A Real Night Bitch. So, bad joke. We'll see what they do with Night Bitch. Justice for Amy Adams. Hopefully she got that dog in her. I'll see myself out. Next film I have up here is The Actor, which I don't know a lot about. I do know that Neon has it. I know that Andre Holland from Moonlight fame is leading the film, and I hear he's great. Duke Johnson, the director, directed Anomalisa, which is a very critical darling. Neon might do something with this one, but maybe not. Also, it might not even be coming out this year. It could be a 2025 film. Early to say. I got on my list. Moving on. Next up is The Apprentice, which is the Donald Trump biopic. You heard me correctly. The Donald Trump biopic, starring Sebastian Stan as Trump. I hear he's wonderful in the film. I hear the film is pretty solid. Jeremy Strong is apparently really solid, but for obvious reasons, it is having a lot of issues with distribution. One of the main head honchos, distributors, not really a distributor, but like one of the main producers of the film is a Trump supporter, and this film is very critical of Trump, from what I hear. So the film doesn't have a U.S. distributor yet. So I don't even know if it's going to be even coming out this year. I know it's obviously an election year. It's kind of a mystery, this one. I really don't know what to say. I'm going to keep my eye on it for a little bit, but it's going to be, I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to have to see. This is probably one of the most up in the air films on this list, so we'll see. Next up is The Count of Monte Cristo, which premiered at Cannes, and I've heard great things about it. It got like an 11-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival, so it's apparently the most expensive French film ever made. So this might be France's submission for international. Enough said. Next up is a film called The End, which is another Neon film. Neon might be pushing this one because I've been hearing wonderful things about it. Joshua Oppenheimer directed this one. It is his first narrative feature. He did direct a documentary called The Act of Killing, which is apparently one of the greatest documentaries pretty much ever made. So it's behind... it's in good hands, we'll have to say. It's apparently another musical. Tilda Swinton is in it. George Mackay is in it. It's hard to tell how it's going to land with audiences and how it's going to be campaigned by Neon. I'm not sure. It could be something. I'm stoked to see it, so we will see. Next up is The Outrun, which premiered at Sundance. A very small indie film out of Sundance. I hear it's like okay. I hear it's mid, but Saoirse Ronan apparently gives an amazing performance in it regardless. Kind of like, I guess you could compare it to Leslie. another pretty good movie with a powerhouse female performance. This could be a vehicle for her. I know she is in Blitz, so she might be campaigned as supporting or lead in that film, or she could be more recognized for The Outrun, some people were saying. So I'm going to keep my eyes on that one. Next up is The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which is another breakout film from Cannes. It's got a great narrative for the director, Mohammad Rusulov, who fled his country of Iran because he is in captivity, essentially. Iran historically has been not so very kind to filmmakers who oppose or question the Iranian government, so much so that they get arrested and thrown in jail for years. So, wonderful. So he's literally like he fled his country to go to Cannes, and he got a huge standing ovation, and his film won a bunch of awards and a special award from the jury, and it's apparently amazing, this film. No U.S. distribution yet, no official release yet, but it is, I think, premiering at both TIFF or Venice or New York, one of the film festivals. It's going to be there. So this might be this year's international sleeper hit. There's no way in hell Iran is going to submit this for international feature. There's just no way that's going to happen. So its only shots are to show up in other categories, a la RRR. But will this movie be RRR? It is obviously a much different movie than RRR. We're just going to see, folks. Going to see it eventually. And then finally, we have a movie called We Live in Time, which I'm not sure I know anything about. I know Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are both in it. Might be pretty good. The director's track record is a little shoddy. Twitter might hold on to this one, so that could get maybe some good publicity, maybe a good campaign, like a word-of-mouth campaign. This is one of A24's other films that they have this year, and it is premiering at TIFF. So we'll see what happens at TIFF. So we have one more category to go, and these are the films that are not very likely to show up at the Academy, but never say never. Gonna have my eyes on it just ever so slightly, just in case. Here we go. There's a movie called Fancy Dance that is being distributed by Apple, that is starring Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon last year. Wonderful actress. This premiered way back at Sundance 2023, so it's been out. But it's just been kind of like floating around, like not really finding a home really anywhere. Might be a dud, but I've heard kind of great things about it. Could just be a sleeper hit that comes and goes. Maybe it's already that. Maybe it's nothing. We'll see. Next up, we have High and Low, which is the next Spike Lee joint. It is apparently an Akira Kurosawa remake. Might be a little too early. I think it might be still in production, as far as I know. It could be a 2025 film, but it is being distributed by A24. But I don't know. It might be a next year thing. We'll have to see. Next up is Hitman, which came out earlier this year on Netflix and in theaters. It's been out. Netflix might do something with this, in particular Glenn Powell. He is apparently pretty great in this movie. Golden Globe comedy is likely, but that's most likely where it's going to stop. I don't really see potential beyond that. Maybe a surprise screenplay nomination. I'm not sure. I've heard good things about it, but the distribution was kind of flawed. Like, it was more of like a crowd theater film, and they put it on Netflix like not too long after, or like around the same time, or wasn't really distributed. It wasn't really released very widely in theaters. I don't know. It's hard to say where this is going to go, but I'm going to keep my eye on it very slightly. Next up is Kinds of Kindness, Yorgos Lanthimos' film after Poor Things. And of course, Poor Things went gangbusters last year. This is a much different film than Poor Things. I will let you know that, coming from somebody who has seen it. I love it. I think it's a great movie. Weird as shit. But it's really good. So the Oscar chances are not likely. I just don't. I'm 90 to 95% chance it's probably going to be goose egged. But never say never. Jesse Plemons did win Best Actor at Cannes for this, which is incredible. you know, maybe an outside shot for screenplay, original screenplay. I would love that, but not much else. Searchlight has this, and like I said, they have so many eggs in other baskets. I don't think they're going to care, really. I think this is going to be a come and go situation, unfortunately, but it's on the list for now. Another one on the list for now is Nosferatu, which is Robert Eggers' next film after The Northman, and he previously did The Lighthouse and The Witch. The only film of his that has ever gotten into the Oscars is The Lighthouse, and that just barely got into the Oscars in Best Cinematography because it was a black and white film and it was in 4:3. His films don't really perform very well with the Academy, unfortunately. I don't think they're going to touch this. Personally, I don't think they're going to touch it. But again, never say never. I don't think it's going to be black and white. I think it might be a mixture of black and white and color, but I'm not sure. Texts are possible, maybe cinematography. I don't know. I really highly doubt it. But some people are having it in some categories, but I'm not really seeing it, but whatever. The Bike Riders. This is being distributed by Focus Features, much like Nosferatu. It came out at it premiered at Telluride last year, and I've heard pretty good things about it. It kind of came and went. I hear it's good, but not like great. It's got a really good ensemble, some really good performances. Austin Butler, Tom Hardy. I hear Jodie Comer is very, very good in it. And there was even like really early best supporting actress rumblings with her performance, even last year. But I don't think this is going to go anywhere. The Last Showgirl is being premiered at TIFF. No U.S. release yet. Apparently Pamela Anderson is the lead and is apparently doing something good. And Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. Could be a vehicle for her, following up Everything Everywhere. Gia Coppola is directing it. Outside of that, I'm not really sure where to put this, what to do with it, but it's here. And then finally, we have The Substance, which is yet another breakout hit from Cannes Film Festival. It is a apparently brilliant body horror film. I, for one, do not do body horror, so I will not be seeing it. I have fainted at films before. I will just say that. I almost fainted at the giant flesh monster from Akira. So, am I going to see The Substance? 1, 2, 3, say it with me. Hell no. But it's going to be at TIFF midnight. It's going to have a midnight screening at TIFF, and I think it's going to go gangbusters. From what I've heard, it's just bonkers. It's just a blast. It is insane. It goes to 10, and then it goes to 15, and then it goes to 100, apparently. It's, like, insane. I hear the makeup and effects are incredible, all the practical effects. There's some Best Actress rumblings, I guess, for Demi Moore. I don't know. I don't know what the Academy is going to think of it. I just don't know. We'll have to see what the general audience reception is when it comes out. It comes out in September. It's going to show at TIFF. We're going to have to see. Maybe it'll just get some text and that's it. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I won't be seeing it, so just going to take your word for it. So I think that's going to do it. If I have missed some films, I apologize because there was a lot to get through. With that being said, I have consolidated all my notes in all of these films, and I will be doing my very first predictions video very, very soon, probably within the coming weeks. Right after that, we are going to get into these film festivals. TIFF, NIF, Telluride, Venice. It's kicked off, man. It's gonna be kicked off. In the meantime, wait for that first predictions video as we get this season underway, folks. Good to have you back. Good to see your faces again. See y'all next time. Oscar Guy is out.